Hello, Jennifer. Hi.
Hi, Sandra. How are you doing today?
Good, good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great.
Great. I'm happy to see you here with us. Thank you so much for, creating time for this chat today. I'm excited to learn from you.
Sure. Thank you for inviting me over.
With pleasure, with pleasure. So Jennifer, as I always say, I would feel free to invite members to connect with you, right? That's the point of the group as well, to expand our networks and to learn from each other and exchange and so, right? So if it's okay with you, I'm going to put the link to your LinkedIn profile so that people can reach out to you if they would like to further maybe discuss something we're going to talk about today, or just purely to expand, right, our networks. Is that okay?
Yes, that would be good.
Okay, awesome. So let's get right onto it. So who is Jennifer? Please introduce yourself to us.
All right. So Jennifer is a wife, a mother, a working professional with over a decade experience. I live in Bangalore, India, and I live here with my husband, two loving boys, aged 9 and 11. I have two golden retrievers and a few fishes. So that's my family. Yeah. And I work as a senior program manager in an edtech industry. And I've worked in multiple domains and industry. I've worked for two of the big fours. I've also worked for an American worldwide mass media company. And I specialize in setting up processes from ground up, and also improving and streamlining processes. Whatever existing processes are there in the companies, I would help with streamlining them. So that's what I specialize in. So that's my professional part. I'm also the first counselor in the Bangalore, India Relief Society Stake Presidency. So for our friends who do not know what's the Relief Society, to elaborate on that, the Relief Society of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, it's considered as the oldest and the largest women's relief organization. And this was set up in 1842 in Nauvoo, Illinois. So we at the Relief Society, we take an active role in the church's welfare program. And we do this by teaching the members about self-reliance, and we help resolve individual temporary as well as their long-term needs. So that's what we do in the Relief Society, and I'm part of it as the first counselor. And apart from this, I am also currently pursuing my BSc in Applied Business Management from BYU, Idaho. And yeah, if I do have some free time, you would see me either spending time with my family, or I would be busy doing some artwork of some kind, either charcoal, pastels, or watercolor. So that's who Jennifer is in a nutshell.
Wow. Wow, so much going on, right?
Yeah. Like to keep myself busy.
Oh yeah, I see that. I see, right? So many roles that you have, right? Like each of us has, of course, many different roles in our lives, right? Being a wife, being a daughter, being a mother, being, like all these things. So also privately, but also professionally, you're like so busy. Wow. How do you,
yeah,
like the ongoing topic is always kind of maintaining work-life balance, organizing your time, and so on. So what helps you? Maybe some tips that you can think of that helps you to really maintain this balance and also have time for yourself, right? To recharge and yeah, have energy for all this.
Right. And that's the key word that you picked on, energy. So I've learned something very important, that it's not about work-life balance. Balance, when I think of the word balance, I think of those people who walk the tightrope, just trying to balance themselves. And it doesn't look comfortable at all. And that's not something either any of us want to, be in a situation like that. And the thing that I learned about balancing is most of the leaders, it's not about balancing. They all work, because all of us, if we see, everyone has the same 24 hours in a day. The leaders or subordinates or anyone, none of us have situations that are different from the other.
Mhm.
right? We all have our jobs and duties to do. We all have our personal responsibilities. We all want to engage in our personal hobbies.
Mhm.
And 24 hours is all we have.
Mhm.
But the key here is not managing your time, but managing your energy. So
Mhm.
that's what I go with. And you have to find ways of energizing yourself throughout the day.
Mhm.
How to maintain that rigor, how to maintain that energy to keep going throughout the day without losing that enthusiasm,
Mhm.
right? And what plays a very important role in maintaining this energy is having your daily rituals, doing certain things that would help you energize,
Mhm.
and keeping a very planned schedule, having an organized way of living.
Mhm.
So this is something that works for me personally. I'm a very organized person. For everything, I like to have it chalked out how I want to have it,
Mhm.
how I want to go about it. So these are the things that work for me personally, being organized and doing morning rituals. It can be as simple as waking up in the morning and doing your morning prayers, or just sitting with a cup of coffee or herbal teas or whatever is your poison for the day. Sit in front of your garden, or look out of the window for just 15 minutes to yourself. Do nothing else. That can be a morning ritual, as simple as that. But you've given yourself that time. You have sat and reflected on things that you want to. You don't even have to think of work. Just that little me time helps you start the day without a rush.
Mhm.
Because most often than not, we think, okay, I'm tired, hit the bed at night, and you say, I need more sleep. You set the clock just in time to wake up to get ready and rush out for work,
Yeah.
right? But if you start your day with a rush, your entire day seems to be like you're running, trying to catch up with things. But
Yeah.
if we start our day a little early, just 15 minutes, give yourself that time to yourself. You start off with a calm mind, and whatever situation comes your way throughout the day, it's going to help you keep that composure
Mm.
throughout the day.
Yeah.
So that's something that works for me, and I try to practice it as much as possible, and I've seen the difference when I don't do that.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. Like I also definitely see the difference when I don't have that time for me, which I definitely like. It's very rare that I don't have that time for me, right? Because I understand the importance, and often, um, like when speaking to people or even when working with my clients, and so oftentimes people are like, oh, I'm not a morning person. You don't have to be a morning person. What you just mentioned,
Right.
right? You don't have to wake up like at 3 or 4 or even
Correct.
5, right? Wake up just 15 minutes before you normally do. Just 15 minutes.
Right.
It's literally an investment in yourself. It's literally an investment,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
And also, right, another thing what we often kind of think is that you try 2 or 3 times, it doesn't work. Give yourself some time, right?
Right.
Give yourself
Muscles don't build in a day. You won't
exactly,
even see it in a week or a month. You
exactly.
just, consistency is the key. You just keep doing it, and over time you start seeing the results.
Yes, absolutely. In everything is like that, right? And this is again where
Right.
patience comes in play, right? Like you need to do it
Right.
now, relax, right? Um,
Right.
that's great, Jennifer. Really, thank you for sharing. So daily rituals, me time, right? Organized way of living, having structure, and I think this structure maybe also, I mean, like what you're doing professionally, I can imagine is very structured, right? Building processes and coming up with new, concepts, and so and that's why maybe that kind of structured way at work is something that of course works also privately, right? It's you can use it
Right.
in both lives, so to say, right?
Right.
um,
Right.
I would like to go a bit more in depth in terms of your professional career, because I know you have an extensive professional career and you worked in really big companies, but also in startups, right? So I would be
Right.
curious to hear a bit your input on maybe biggest differences, right? What were the biggest takeaways working for a huge corporation in comparison to maybe startup environment, if you want to share?
Right. So I started my career with Deloitte.
Mhm.
I had just graduated from a college, completing my BCom professional.
Mhm.
And soon after my graduation, I was hired by Deloitte in the tax department. So that's where I started from ground level as a college graduate. It was a very good opportunity, knowing as big as Deloitte can be, getting an opportunity to start your career. It was exciting. I had the opportunity to work with uh, some wonderful managers. I looked up to leaders who had been in the company for decades, 2, 3 decades, they had been in the company. And there was a lot of learning there. And there is um, what people would always think is there are two concepts, actually, I would say. People who join a large company, who start their careers with large companies, have it all right? And that's the best way to go. But I would say that it has its good points for either whether you join a large company when you're starting off or whether you join a small company when you start your career. It's about what you learn there and how you take your skills forward wherever you go. And that is what has happened for me as well. Joining and starting your career with a large company gives you the opportunity of having the big name association, that you're associated with a big name. And working for a large company, you get to specialize in a particular profession or a particular trade or a particular skill. So you get a very focused learning that you have there. Unlike smaller companies, when you join, you are exposed to much more than a specialization. Because it's a smaller company, you would be given opportunities. I wouldn't even call it opportunities. That's the need for the business to give you as much as possible work or projects to work on. So you get that opportunity by default to be able to work on multiple and varied things. So it's just the scope of work expands for you. You learn multiple and varied things in smaller companies versus a specialized knowledge in a large company. So that's the only two differences I see with regard to the skills that you pick up in a large company versus a small company. But again, it doesn't really matter where you start off. It's about what you pick up there as you're working, how much of it you have absorbed, how much of it you carry along with you. And my personal experience has been, I have moved from Deloitte, which is a consulting firm. In Deloitte, I worked for 9 long years, and I worked in different profiles. I worked in tax, I worked with partners and directors working on the webinars and global mobility annual conference that used to be conducted in the Deloitte University. So there were a lot of roles. I worked on the pursuits and proposals. So there was a varied projects that were given to me. And early on in my career in Deloitte, I had the opportunity to lead a large project. So that gave me exposure as well. But moving from Deloitte, I had to move cities. And once I moved cities, I had to take up a new job. It was a new company. It was a completely new job profile. So what I realized, this was like a turning point for me, because after staying 9 years in Deloitte, that was like an entire world for me. Right. So after leaving Deloitte, after 9 years, it was like the bubble popped for me. I did not know the outside world. Then I realized how much more is outside there. And Deloitte did teach me a lot of things. I took back a lot of memories, a lot of experience, a lot of skill sets in those 9 years. But when I moved to a different city with a new industry, new profile, I realized that even though I was starting a completely different role, I still carried so much of experience, so much skills, which I could take along with me and contribute in this new company. Right. So moving from a consulting firm to Time Inc., which is a mass media company, it deals with content, it deals with media, it deals with the most famous and popular magazine brands, right? 100+ brands. So working with two completely different industries didn't really make a difference because of the skill sets that I carried. along with me. So that's the thing that I have been very diligently following to ensure that the skill sets stay with me, and I be persistent in my approach in whatever I take up. So that's the only difference I see in working with a large company and working with a small company. And one big thing I'll also add, since I'm working for a startup right now, it's an edtech. So for startups, the only thing, the difference is that you need to be quick in your thinking, because it's a startup. Every day you may see a new challenge. There would be a new firefighting that you may have to do. You just have to be versatile and be ready for it. Everything may not be planned out and chalked out and laid out on a plate for you. Yeah. Right. So just be ready for the challenge. If challenges daily, if you are a person who is used to doing something on a day-to-day basis the same way every day, almost like a monotonous kind of job, and you enjoy doing it, there's nothing wrong in that. There are some people who like doing the daily mundane tasks and they enjoy it. Yeah. So yeah, there are some people that way, and it's totally fine. And there are some who get their energy only if there's something new, something challenging every day. It doesn't need to be something big, but if it's something new, it energizes them. So if that's the case, then yeah, startups are a place for you.
Yeah, I mean, smaller working environment, with what you mentioned as well, right? Like requires you to be like everywhere in the business, so to say, right? Like you get a opportunity to very quickly learn many different things. You know, in a startup or in a smaller company, there is no thing such as, in general nowadays, there is no that thing, but especially in a small environment, there is no, that's not my job description, you know. This mentality doesn't exist. If this is what you think, it's not the right environment. Right.
Correct.
So it's, and also what you're saying, quick thinking, absolutely right, because big corporations, they have processes and systems and multiple layers of, you know, you make a decision, then somebody needs to review it and review it and review it, you know, like 1 year after, it's like, yeah.
True, absolutely.
It's you know, I mean, obviously, I actually also have some clients who work in Big Four, and I know in general, right, like there are a lot of talks around there about Big Four, about culture, about expectations to their employees, etc. And I know that oftentimes people struggle in those environments to really set clear boundaries, you know, to be able to stop working, to be able to deal with such a competitive environment, because it's very competitive, right? You're surrounded by very ambitious people who are, you know, sometimes a bit even ruthless in certain situations. So I'm wondering, from your own experience, right, how did you deal with such an environment? Maybe if you'd like to share with those who are thinking of going into that direction, or who are already in such environments.
Right. So what I have noticed is that the company overall may have a culture, but then within a company, it just depends what team you are associated with, because individual teams too might not stick to that particular culture entirely. There would be a little differences in the way they have their own you know, group cultures, I would say. So it just ends up, because even if you see on the internet, if you check on company reviews, how is the work culture, there would be a long list of people putting their comments that it's wonderful, it has this kind of culture and it's very flexible. And you would still see few who would, you know, write otherwise. It's a completely different story. And you sit there thinking, they are from the same company, why are they writing something different? And till you really experience something like that, you wouldn't know. It's just a matter of which team you belong to, and whether they are adhering or, you know, just following. I wouldn't say adhere, because it's a cultural thing. So whether they are in tune with the company's culture. The leaders, of course, especially the positive culture that they want to drive, they try ways to drive this throughout the company, but there would be exceptions. And about dealing with certain things that you do not prefer, cultures, I think it's just about finding your way around. because there is competition everywhere, whether it be a small company or a large company. It doesn't really matter, because uh, there's always going to be competition. Everyone wants to grow. Uh, but I think what's most important in competition is healthy. It motivates you to move forward. But what I think people should follow is the right way of competing, meaning you try to grow with projecting your skill sets, projecting your how competent you are and how good you are at your work. uh, because we also know of what we call office politics, where people would be like crabs in a basket trying to pull you down.
Yeah.
Right. And that doesn't it's not a positive way of doing things and improving, because you may try to show another person low, or not worthy enough for growth, but that does not necessarily imply that you are better than them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So that's something which everyone should try to do. Just stick to showing how good you are at your work, and that should speak for itself.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, right. Like, because if you spend time thinking about competition and about your colleagues and about whatever, you don't have then enough time to focus on your results and your goals and your
Right.
ambitions and your
Right.
focus, what you should actually be focusing on, right? So it's
Right.
and what you're saying, right, this competition definitely is positive if it's ethical, let's put it that way. And like, if it's not kind of, I'm gonna get there no matter what, no matter who I harm, no matter who I like, right? It's
Right.
we have to be professional, we have to be human
Right.
as well.
Right.
It's
Correct. And the best part is, what, each of us, whoever has been hired in the company, has been hired for a reason, because of our own unique abilities and strengths that we are bringing to the table. You do not have to be like me, I do not have to be like you.
Yeah.
But if we work together, how much more strength do we bring together to the table? That's how we should see and work together as a team.
Yes.
Right? Because it doesn't, I don't have to have all the abilities or qualities that you have. I can leverage your strengths and you can leverage mine. The end goal should be achieving those results that we want to achieve as a team, as a company.
Yeah.
So that's what should be the end goal in mind for everyone, and that's what I think drives results and positivity in on all teams.
Yes, yes, absolutely, right. Like, we are there to, as a team, you're there to kind of fulfill each other for those things that you don't know, maybe, right? And vice versa, right? So it's working together, not against each other. You're working together towards a goal, right? And
Right.
sometimes some people seem to not really understand that, and it's very competitive, which doesn't, in long term, that's very unhealthy for the overall, like, even energy of the team, right?
Correct.
It's
Yeah.
no, this is extremely valuable. I think, like, again, thank you for sharing these things, because I know a lot of people have different ideas and have different questions, and it's always so great to hear from someone who has been there, right? Who is there, right? And
Right.
to
Right.
hear takeaways. So maybe now, if you look back on your career and in general life, right? What would be maybe some things that you wish you knew before?
All right. So something that I knew before, I would say, so I'll say it's useless to worry about the future, right? Because we haven't seen what's in store and what's coming. So if we keep worrying about it now, we can't really do anything about it, because we don't know what's going to come. So if we just think about the future and worry about it, it's just a waste of time. It's useless. So this is something which I think, if I knew before, uh, I, and to be honest, actually, we have learned about this or heard it from our parents or mentors, but we don't really know the how intense or what's the real importance of it.
Yeah.
Somebody has just thrown this this information into our mind, and we know it's there. But when you are in that situation, you can't really associate with that. And that's what happened with me in the past. And when I look back now, I realize that there are some things that till you experience, you won't really know for yourself. You can learn a lot of theoretical knowledge, you can read on a lot of examples, you can hear of a lot of people's life experiences on those situations. But until and unless you go through that situation yourself, you will not know the severity of it. You will not know what it is all about. And two such examples I would like to give is one of becoming a mother. So till you become a mother, and when I say becoming a mother, I don't just mean delivering a baby, but just rearing a child, being a mother to a child. So till you become a mother for yourself, you will not know what it is for. It's like when you see your kid playing around, doing stuff, what kids would do. It's like having your heart walking around outside your chest.
Oh, that's
So that's how it is. So yeah, till you're a mother, you won't really know how it actually feels. You enjoy seeing them playing. At the same time, you're so scared. What if they trip? What if they hurt themselves? If they injure themselves? So that's one thing. And second, I would say is faith. So you can read all the scriptures you want every day on a daily basis. You could pray, you could chant and sing hymns in praise, and you can believe that you have a very strong faith. But until and unless your faith is tested, you will never know how much of faith you have, or how little faith you have. And I think that's why in the scriptures, it very rightly says, that if only we have faith as much as a grain of mustard seed, nothing is impossible. So in those situations, if we are able to hold on to that faith as small as that mustard seed, that's what is going to help us. And once we are able to go through that situation with that, holding on to that little faith, helping us and enduring us, helping us to endure. If we endure it well, then that little mustard seed faith, it starts increasing. So I think these are the lessons that I have learned in the past through whatever little time I've been here on earth. That yeah, don't fret and worry too much about the future. Do plan of what you would want to be like, or what you want to do in the future, but don't fret about what if this happens or what if that happens. It just robs you of the happiness in the present. It doesn't allow you to focus on what you can do in the present. You can do much more, but those worries just eats into your time, eats into your peace, eats into your happiness.
Yeah, that's so great, right? Like what you're saying, and so important, because worrying is such a draining activity when you think about it, and it's kind of growing. More you worry about something, bigger deal it's actually becoming, and then we eventually construct such a huge thing in our mind that drains us even more, right? And then essentially that something, let's say, the situation occurs and you had all those scenarios, etc., all those worries were actually, and you realize all those worries were like for nothing.
Right. And exactly, I learned that the hard way. Now when I look back at that situation, and I'm like, I worried so much about it. At that point of time, I was actually secure, I was doing well. What troubled me and what made me miserable was just the thoughts and worries about the future. But while I was there in that situation, I had everything. I was just worrying about, what if this happens in the future? What if I lost this? Or what if I run out of this? So it was just the worry that made me miserable. But looking back, I realized that it was just the worry and not the situation per se.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as long as, I also believe that worrying can be positive as long as we know when to kind of stop it, right? And as long as we see it as a constructive worry, so to say, where you're like, what if this happens, then I can do that, right? Or it can give you new perspectives, but very often we don't know how to kind of stop it.
Where to stop your thoughts, where to put a pause, where to redirect it and channelize it to thinking of what I can do about it. If we just allow that worry to wander over and what if this, what if that, it just adds additional stones to that burden bag.
Absolutely. Yeah, right. So just also an additional tip there, when you do realize that you're going into that direction, right? Like, stop yourself and just ask yourself, how is this helping me actually, right? How is this worrying helping me? Let's switch it to problem solving rather than problem feeding, right? In a way, the more you feed the problem, bigger it becomes, clearly.
Right. And a lot of time I've seen people too, they tend to keep, it's good that we keep professional and personal life separate, but we have just one brain and mind, right? So if we can think how to handle official business in a certain way, we ask questions like what, why, how. Why can't we do that in the same way in our personal lives? When we come across similar challenging situations, ask ourselves, what is it that's happening? What can I do about it? How and why? And then move forward. If we just worry about it, again, it's a dead end. So
it's interesting, it's a very good point that you raised here, because now when I think about it, we all know probably of quite some people who, let's say, seem to have it all figured in their career, right? They are like super, organized, let's say, super successful, super whatever. But then in private life, they are like pretty chaotic, for example. They can't, I'm not saying you have to do the same, don't get me wrong, but it's like kind of a complete opposite, or even vice versa, right? So it's very, yes, we need to separate like our work and our private life, but at the same time, you are you. It's not that you are a different person at work, like your core values or your core standards, and it's very interesting to see that. It's very, very interesting.
I think everything, we just associate professional life to do with our brain and personal life to do with our heart.
It's so
but I think we need to understand that both these are part of us. It makes us who we are. Even in business, you can't just think only with your brains and mind. You have to have that emotional quotient. You have to be empathetic. You have to bring in the gut feeling sometimes. Sometimes if you just look at numbers and think with your brain is going to tell you it's not going to work out. But there is something, that gut feeling that says, no, give it a shot, take that risk, take that leap of faith and go ahead, right? So in the same way, for personal life too, we can't say that, no, it's my personal life, it's family, I just have to think through my heart. There has to be love involved, but you have to think logically too. You have to use your brain. So either ways, whether it's professional, personal, use both. God has given us everything, use both. I know when it comes to family, we get very emotional sometimes, and we do not think how to use our logical side of our brain. But yeah, there is a point when people just want to put their foot down and say, okay, that's it. It's going to be either this or that. But sometimes it doesn't even work that way. There is a better way to, and I'm just saying this with the thought of divorces in mind, that when relationships don't work, they're like, either I get this or I don't, and I walk out of the relationship. But how much of an effort are we making towards building that relationship? That's what comes into picture. You can't say that your partner is supposed to give you so and so things, and that's how a good marriage is. We all have to compromise a little, or we all have to, we can expect things from our partners or spouses, but they too would have some expectations from us. So it's you walk a little steps forward and I take a few steps forward as well. And that's where we would meet in the middle. So it's not always this or that.
Yeah.
You have to have an open mindset to see
Mm.
what works for each other, to understand what is the other person's expectation. And if we can't meet the entire expectation, what and how much can I do that would suffice? The open channels of communication is what would help, and I think is something which is missing in nowadays times.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I wrote about that some time ago. I'm not sure if you're aware. Just to point at what you're saying, extremes, right? We live in a world where there is so much choice around, which is great.
Right.
Of course, it's great, but
Right.
at the same time, I see that people are like becoming very much like, oh, let's put it like at work, okay? This is not how I imagined it, let me change immediately, right? Or this is not the
Right.
relationship I thought of, let me change it immediately, right? But you need to give, right, to get. In certain
Right.
situations you need to cut it right away, yes, but
Right.
you need to give to get. And it's
Correct.
about finding compromises. It's about putting that effort. It's about, let me try, let me see, instead of just, well, it doesn't work, next. It's
Right.
it's very, very important to like be all in, give yourself.
Right. And I think that comes with the ideology of how the world has evolved.
Mm,
In the past, if we remember, for me personally, growing up, I remember if anything would break at home, our parents would teach us how to fix it,
yeah.
how to do something to, reuse it or do something about it, rather than, okay, it's broken, just chuck it off, let's get a
Yeah.
new one. That was not the way we lived. It was about fixing things. But now the way things are, we just get something new. It's
Mm,
not fixable. So that kind of mindset has creeped in even into people's lives. That
mm,
relationships are not working, I can chuck it and just move and get something new.
yeah.
So I think that's where people need to draw the line and understand where to use what kind of a logic. It doesn't work generally across everything.
Yes. No, that's so true. I mean,
Yeah.
100%. I agree with you 100%, right? Like this
Yeah.
fix or try to find a solution, dig deeper, understand what's going on, rather than, well,
Yeah.
next, let me buy
Yeah.
it one, let me get it one, whatever, right? Like let's
Right.
ourselves into it first, right? It's
Yeah.
and like when thinking about relationships, any kind of relationship, is it romantic, friendship, parentship, whatever, like I think one of the most beautiful things is like see that you're kind of growing together, right? That you
Right.
are changing and becoming, I mean, changing in terms of becoming better people together, growing, developing, rather than,
Right.
oh, he or she's different, next, like
Yeah.
let's stop for a moment.
And it's never easy. It's
Yeah.
not that, okay, we look at, and especially now with social media, everyone is looking, even though people know whatever's out there in the social media is not 100% true, or it's not the complete picture. I would
Yeah.
rather put it that way. It's not the complete picture. We see smiling faces, we see holidays, we see all the positive things out there.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of people understand that is not everything. People are not going to post the negative things that are happening in their life, or the not so good things that are going on.
Mhm.
But still, when they see all those things, they just try to compare their own selves or their lives with those particular situations, and they think, I'm nowhere, or I'm not good enough, or things are not working in my life. Everybody else seems to be
Mm.
happier than where I am. Grass is always green on the other side.
Yeah.
uh, but but yeah, it's just about understanding and being content and happy with where you are. Always, I would say, don't compare to the outside world, or to the
Mhm.
others. See that, be happy, and try to implement something positive into your own life. Try to compare. If you want to compare or compete, I would say compete with your own self. See what you were yesterday and see where you are today. Have you improved?
Mhm. Mhm.
Compare yourself with yourself. You are your own competition, basically. If
Yeah.
you go with that way, I think you are still a winner. You don't need to compete with the others. You will eventually win.
Yeah, I mean, what's the point at the end of the day, right? Like, even if we were to compete, I'm still living my life, right? Then
Right.
us competing will have, like, what will it bring me? And then, like, essentially,
Right.
what will that competition, which is actually, I find competition, I mean, we spoke about it being also positive thing, but generally,
Right.
it's more kind of negatively perceived than positive.
Right.
So again,
Right.
focus on empowering activities in your life so that
Correct.
you can really get to where you wish to be eventually, right?
Right.
It's
Right.
this is I mean, thank you so much really for sharing
Sure.
this discussion. Amazing. So I hope
Yeah.
that many members will watch this video and that they enjoyed it as much as I did, because this was amazing. Thank you so much, Jennifer, so much.
Thank you so much for leading the conversation. I really enjoyed my time. I never knew where the conversation would lead to, what topics we could really be discussing today, but it was really a pleasure, Sandra.
Yeah, that's what we said before as well. Let's see where it
Yeah.
goes and look at it. Amazing.
Right.
Just before we end, Jennifer, the question that I always ask, and this is your opportunity, right? Anything that comes to your mind in terms of giving or asking for from the group at the moment.
Okay, so for giving, I would just tell the group members, I'm here if you need somebody to discuss your ideas or run through some of the strategies that you have, or just need a year to, vent out, because I know everyone needs somebody to hear them out, and especially without being judgmental. And we don't always find people who would hear us out. So I just want to say I'm here if anybody wants to talk, if anybody wants to share ideas, suggestions, strategies, I'm here to hear. I'm here to support, I'm here to advise, I'm here to motivate in any way I can. And the ask would be for members to just feel free to share their thoughts on the conversation that we had today, share any feedback, or if they just want to pick up, as you said, pick up any ideas or topics what we spoke of and they want to discuss it further, I would be more than happy to do that.
Beautiful. Thank you so much once again. And
thank you, Sandra.
Yeah, I wish you a lovely day, and I hope to do something similar like this again soon with you.
Sure, would be more than happy to.
Okay, so speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.